Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha, and today I'm having steak and guacamole. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the topic I've brought up in the past, and people have tried to raise counter arguments against it, and they use the dip a lot. And I want to be very, very clear when I say this. I am not someone who even likes the bench press, and it's funny, when I say these things, in defense of the bench press as the test of upper body strength, particularly in strength sports. People get defensive about it and they think it's because I'm a power lifter, because I like the bench press. I actually don't even like the bench. I suck at the bench. I'm working on fixing that actively. Is by far my worst lift. I have long arms. I'm not built for the exercise. But I can objectively admit that it is the best test of upper body strength. And the counter arguments that people have are, well, people can lift more on this lift, and it's usually a lift that involves using your legs a lot more, right? And even then, they're still not stronger. In other words, they'll use the push press or a cheat row. People still aren't doing the weights they're doing on the bench press, even with the legs actively helping start the weight, because we can argue about how much leg drive really helps on the bench. A push press or a cheat row, it does, but they're still not moving the same weight. But people come over to the weighted dip, and they're like, okay, but there are people who are, they're like, I personally, but because you can personally do it has nothing to do with the measurement of strength. We could set aside of whether it's even safe to max on a weighted dip or not. That's a whole other point of contention. We could make a good case that the injury rates are going to be higher than if we use that instead of the bench press. But even then, if we're going to test strength, we have to throw the injury risk aside, don't we? Because there's assumed risk when you want to be the strongest person in your class or in the world. There's an assumed risk anyways when we test absolute strength. So they'll make this case, but people haven't done the math. And I did a little bit of digging because I've had people try to make this argument. A former client of mine has even tried to make this argument. And so I went to look and see what the strongest weighted dip is. And here's the problem. It's nowhere near what people are lifting on bench presses. And I don't even have to go to the super heavyweight stuff. We could. But, people say, well, when you take the weight of the plates plus the body weight, we can get these really big numbers, but the heaviest recorded dip in any sort of sanctioned competition of which I'm aware so far was 140 kg. 140 kg. That is in pounds, 308 pounds. And that sounds really good. People say, oh man, what's the guy weigh? So we have to add his body weight to it. Looking at the guy, I can't tell. I bet he's under 200 pounds though, and here's the reason. Extremely developed upper body from what I could see. Again, I could be wrong because he was wearing shorts during the clip of the actual lift. Possibly minimal leg development. Guy didn't look to have a lot of legs. So upper body specialist, or probably some sort of weighted calisthenics specialist. Really jacked upper body, really, really, really lean. Without knowing his height, I'm willing to venture this guy is less than 200 pounds. So here's the problem. Let's say he's 192. Now, if guys can go look him up, he looked to be a Russian, I think. You want to go look him up and find out. Of course, he's a Russian. You want to find out what the guy weighs for me. Hey, feel free to knock it out, guys. But assuming even if he's 192, and I bet he's under 200 pounds, where are we at? How does this stack up? And keep in mind, this is the best. This is number one. This is number one. Well, what are we dealing with here? Let's say that's 500 pounds of total weight. 500 pounds. Now, I can bench 500. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. How many guys have benched over 500 in the 198 weight class? Raw with no equipment. 84. Okay? We're not even going to other weight classes. Not even going to other weight classes yet. Keeping in mind there are 181 guys who've benched over 500, which again disgusts me as someone who sucks at the bench. And that's not just recent. People are like, well, that's only no. No, there were dudes doing it in the 70s and 80s. Go all the way back to like Tom McDonald, I believe. Whatever his name. Benching over 500 and 181. But guys, 84. 84 guys in that similar body weight have outbenched the best weighted dip in the world. And it would be one thing people would say, well, people are a little more specialized in the bench, and so therefore, you'd expect there to be a few more. 84. Not 2, not 3, 84. Then we come over and say, well, what is the heaviest dip anyone's ever done? Because this is looking at weight classes. But in other words, this crushes this argument that the bench is not the test of strength where people are moving the most weight. Now, people are also trying to say, well, a bunch of those guys are probably using crazier. No, not of them. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them are using a nice, modest arch. Using a nice, modest arch. And even when people are arching, they're still hitting the same elbow ranges of motion that people are getting in these dip competitions. It's not less range of motion. And guys who are built to dip more are going to have a leverage advantage to shorten the range of motion. Of course they do. It's how sports work. But what is the heaviest? What's 500? Is that where we are? How many guys have benched over 700 pounds? Now, granted, I'm not going to use the world record 770 because only one guy's even got close to that. But like at least 6 guys that benched 700 plus. Do we see any other upper body exercises hitting these numbers? No. No. The bench press is the test of upper body strength. It's the metric we use overall in strength sports, and it's a great metric. And here's the thing. You can dislike that all you want. You could eventually have it to where 85 guys do over a 500-pound total dip. Okay, fine. It's not going to happen. But even if you did, everyone likes the bench press. It's popular. Everyone wants to know what you bench. It's not going away. So here's my point, guys. If you want to be known for having a strong upper body, you're going to have to just accept this. Suck it up and get strong at the bench press. You're just going to have to, and quit crying about the fact that you suck at it. I quit crying about the fact that I suck at it and I just work on it now. Right? That's your solution. If you want to be known for having a strong upper body. Because it's the test that is used. It's what you're going to be measured against other people. And I think a lot of times it's people who, they're just bad at the bench. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.